I always start off by saying do something. And when I say do something, I mean literally just that. I know some people are always trying to begin, doing some gigantic thing or something like that. I'm like, literally do something as small as give that homeless person that you always tell no $1 one day, or find a reason to make somebody smile, pick a family to feed once a week, whatever you're capable of doing. Everybody's capable of doing something, good, whether that be with $2, and finding, a homeless person to go buy some food, like literally if everybody decided to get up and do one thing, to make somebody smile every day, or something to alleviate the pain for somebody else, we could be in a better place.
Hello and welcome to the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. We're here to help you navigate life while disrupting the status quo. Our discussions cover a number of topics relevant to everyday life. We discuss everything from relationships to entrepreneurship. We also engage in some difficult but important conversations. And now, here are your hosts, Brine and Tonya Hamilton.
Welcome to episode 32 of the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. Today we have some bonus content. We recently had the opportunity to interview King Randall, and we didn't want to hold on to this content, so we're going to release it a little bit early. So let's just jump right into the conversation. Thank you for joining us on the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We are joined by King Randall. King, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm absolutely excited to be here.
Fantastic. Now, the first question that we're going to ask you, just by way of introduction, who is King Randall?
Well, I'm 22 years old. I'm the founder of the X for Boys program in the city of Albany, Georgia, where we're teaching young men different skill trades, how to work on cars, work on houses, such as changing brakes, changing oil, changing ceiling fans, light fixtures, etc. Also teaching them how to grow their own food, teaching them wilderness training, teaching them firearms training, many different things that we're teaching our boys here in the city of Albany, all to combat us being the number one for poverty in the state of Georgia. Also, at one point, being the fourth poorest city in the whole United States. Also, to combat all of the murders that are happening amongst our children, whom other children are being charged with these murders. So with that being said, I just wanted to be proactive and try to save young Black boys before they die. And that's my biggest concern, is making sure we fight for them while they're screaming for help now, instead of waiting till they're in a casket and then crying for justice. So I think the biggest thing we could do is fight for them while they're alive and pour into their lives.
Okay. And you started this when you were 19, right?
Yes, 19 years old in January of 2019.
Okay. So you've been busy.
Yes, I've been busy for the past 3 years. I've boarded children. We're the only standing rehabilitative program for juvenile delinquents in Southwest Georgia. And we're right now in the process of opening the Life Preparatory School for boys. It'll be an all boys boarding school here in the city of Albany.
Okay. So when we had first heard about you, or when I had first heard about you, you guys were on your way to securing the school. Can you give us an update on what's going on with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We purchased 3 buildings here in the city of Albany, on the more impoverished side of town, mainly because I want those students to be able to walk to school if they need to, those who won't be boarding, because I know many of the parents are not able to take their children consistently back and forth to the different locations as far as school and book club, etc. So I want to make sure that those parents are able to serve those children. But we purchased 3 buildings. These buildings are not schools, so obviously we have to turn them into schools. So we're looking at opening next fall. That'll be fall of 2022. So right now we're just working on renovations. But in the meantime, we're always still doing work. We're still doing workshops. We're still doing book club. We're still teaching and molding our young men before the school even opens.
Okay.
Now, I'm curious, what made you decide to take this endeavor on at the age of 19?
Well, usually when things happen in the city of Albany, everybody wants to have these meetings, and these meetings are, like stop the violence meetings, et cetera. And everybody has all of these different solutions for what's supposed to change and what's supposed to happen, but nobody actually has the results, or nobody's actually doing anything to actually change the city of Albany or consistently working with the children. And I feel like, us working consistently with the children is what's going to help change them and help change the framework of the city of Albany. Our children are the future, and they're what's going to change the condition. And the scripture teaches us that as a man thinketh, so is he. So our conditions, bear witness to the way we're thinking. So what can I do to change the mindsets of the people? What can I do to change the mindsets of the children, et cetera?
Mm-hmm. And, it's interesting, right? Because everybody has to start somewhere. So when you started back when you were 19, just paint a picture of what that looked like.
I had just lost my job, and I knew that I wanted to do something in regards to helping children, or helping boys in particular, because I had just already did some field trips with young men and seeing them, talk about, their conditions, and them asking the questions that they were asking, basically not wanting to be in the conditions that they're in. I knew that's where I needed to be. And so once I lost my job, I believe that was God kind of saying like, hey, let's go ahead and do what we need you to do out here. And so I started it out. I had 20 kids in my home with me at the time. And, I started right here in my dining room, and I made it happen. So I bought some little tables. I got a little small dry erase board, and I had 20 kids come with me for the summer of 2019. I taught them every day. We grew our own food. We, changed ceiling fans, changed toilets, did flooring, fix cars. We did so many things during that summer, and all of it was so important. And we had a beautiful summer. And then during that summer, I came to discover that so many of our boys can't read and write, because we were trying to read and realizing how many of them literally couldn't read. I mean, I had kids, sixth grade can't read cat and dog. And that was extremely alarming to me. And that's when I had the idea of opening a school. I told my boys I was going to open a school for them. Didn't know how I was going to do it. Didn't know when I was going to do it, but we're going to make it happen for them. And that's what we did. So 19 years old, no job, trying to make ends meet, but still wanting to serve the children. It was a little tough, but you always have to find that work ethic before you find your purpose. So once you get that work ethic, and put 100% into whatever it is that you're doing, the blessings will come, as long as you keep remaining patient.
And I guess that's that do for self mentality that you speak about, that you're kind of famous for that quote right now, the do for self mentality.
Yes, absolutely. Gotta do for self. I explain that all the time. And I know people, always like, it's anti-government. I'm not necessarily saying, I'm anti-government. I'm just not anti-waiting on government. That's my thing. So, if government decides to help, that's cool and fine and dandy, but I'm not going to wait on that. I'm not going to bank on that. That's not what I, intend to do. That's not what's going to change our communities. What's going to change our communities is us. And that's us doing for ourselves in our communities.
So 2019, that's when you started. But take us back. Where did this desire come from to help boys?
Back when I did the first field trip for them back in 2019, because I was originally trying to do things, with the older guys. I had started doing like barbershop conversations with the guys. Like every Tuesday and Thursday, we'd have conversations, just guys just come, to the barbershop and just sit down and talk. We just talk about anything. Try what can I do to put them in a better mood to go home, and things like that. We talk about things that were going on, just guys just talking. I did that every Tuesday and Thursday, trying to work with men, but I just really wanted to see some real substantial like change, and I did that field trip and seeing those boys, asking those questions. And even after I did my first oil change workshop, I taught 20 boys how to change oil, and to see them, so excited about their certificates that I made for them, et cetera, like them wanting to put their certificates on the wall. And, it was just a beautiful thing. Like, just seeing the boys get so excited, and feel like they're worth something, because these are the same children who don't, get maybe good grades at school or don't play football and basketball. These just are regular kids. And so for them to say, I know how to do something, or even when I taught the boys how to make omelets, I have a degree in culinary. I graduated culinary school when I was 17. But teaching them how to make an omelet, and them going home and wanting to show their moms like just that confidence and pride and feel like I can do something, it sends shockwaves through them and makes them feel like they can do anything. If I can show them they can do something, they can do something else. And I think that's extremely important. So that drive for helping our boys came from literally helping them and then wanting to see them do more.
So I just want to unpack something there. You said you earned your culinary degree when you were 17. So Were you doing this while you were actually still in high school?
Yes, I graduated college before I graduated high school. I just wasn't able I just wasn't able to receive my degree until I had my diploma in my hand. Yes, I did do a college commencement before I graduated high school. I took culinary in 11th and 12th grade. I got my degree in a year and a half. Actually, I didn't take any breaks. So imagine going to high school and then also catering events, etc. after school
Wow.
up until like 1 o'clock in the morning. It was tough. It was hard, but work ethic. And the culinary school was tough. I was captain of the culinary team in my high school. We got second place in my 11th grade year, first place, my 12th grade year. I'm pretty good, in the kitchen, but I don't cook that often anymore actually, because I'm so busy. And then not even mentioning that, like, just culinary school was so tiring. Like, it almost took my love away for cooking, because like it that's all I got. So tired of looking at kitchens and spoons and pans, just all of it just annoyed me, because that's all I did for 2 years straight. So I think it'll come back eventually, but right now, just still having just graduated, at 17, just I'm just 22 now. I just need a little time away, and I might get back into it. But I kind of show my boys a few things sometime whenever I'm in the mood.
There you go. So is there anybody in your life that you owe that, or that you learn that work ethic from?
Yeah, absolutely. My former stepfather kind of taught me everything, as far as, working on houses and stuff like that. I mean, we built everything at home. Like, we never bought any sheds. We built all of our sheds in the backyard with wood. We built our own roofing. We ran our own electricity through the sheds. We built our own washroom outside. We turned our washroom in the house into a bedroom, and we ran plumbing under the house all the way to a shed that we built and made our washroom in there. We ran electricity to it. We grew all of our own food. We built all of our own dog houses. We built all of our chicken pens. We built our rabbit coops. Everything, we had, we built. We grew bananas in the backyard, peaches, plums, everything, tangerines. We literally had everything, and my mom still owns that house, so if I go back there and go to the backyard, we got all types of fruit trees and everything, figs, lemons, you name it. We grew everything. And we had dogs, we had chickens. So I grew up like that, cowboy hat, cowboy boot wearing kid. And even some of the guys, that were in the neighborhood, had this old guy that stayed behind us, that went to a church, called him Deacon Bogan. He still lives there to this day. And Deacon Bogan, all we know him for is cutting the grass. That's all he does all day, every day, is cut his grass. If I go there tomorrow morning, Deacon Bogan out there in that yard cutting the grass. That's all he does, is cut grass. But he would have the boys, if they were getting in trouble, he like see them walking down the street doing something. Come here. You could give them a chainsaw, or give them some hedge trimmers or whatever, and make them do something. But he kept us in line. And the guy down the street from us, he laid bricks. He was on drugs, but yeah, he taught us how to, everybody in the neighborhood had a brick mailbox, because he taught us how to make brick mailboxes. He'd do it for like $50 and it would be immaculate. And that's something he taught us how to do. He closed in our garage for us. We bricked in the garage, but we all did it together, so that's stuff, people in my neighborhood taught me. I mean, I grew up in the hood, but we made it work. I still had men, and that's extremely important. I know people like, King Randall, you're special. I'm just like, not necessarily. I'm just a boy who had a father figure, and a boy who had men. And I think a lot of our boys are simply just missing that in our communities. And of course, I credit my current stepfather for the business side of me. My current stepfather, he's a former detective. He just retired. And many people may know him, Detective Hardaway, on the First 48, DeKalb County. And he's like super business, shirt and tie. He like molded me in that area. And my mom married him when I was 16. So, he and I have a really close relationship now. I credit, all those men, for being in my life. Even my father, like my biological father, even though he wasn't there, like, just a few conversations, we have every now and then, he's always, because I raise all of my brothers and sisters. My mom, I'm my mom's only child, but my dad has a lot of kids, but I raise all of them, because he's not there. But, we still talk, and he's just like, keep doing your good job, with your brothers and sisters. Don't be like me, all that. And I don't hold it against them. Didn't nobody teach him how to be no dad. So who am I to be angry at him for not doing something he didn't know how to do? That's just who he is, but I love him too. So I kind of credit all the men, my grandfather, my uncles, all of them, helped mold me, into the man that I am. My manager, all the men in my life, help mold me into who I am. I'll forever remain a student. And I don't consider myself an adult until I turn 25. That's when the decision-making part of my brain is finished developing. So at this time, I'm still, consulting with elders for the decisions that I make.
Now, one thing that I heard in one of the interviews I listened to that kind of stood out for me was one of the things that your mom used to do was make sure that your father was still involved in your life. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong in this story, but there was a time where he had like maybe forgot your birthday, or he showed up a month before your birthday, or something of that nature. And, you were excited because he was there, but, she would buy the presents sometimes and, let him take credit for it. Can you talk to us about that? Cause I think it's really important too, when, you're co-parenting, that you don't necessarily give the other parent a bad name. You want to make sure that they still, the kid still has a positive image of them.
Right. So my father, like I said, he wasn't really just there in my life. However, my mom made sure that I didn't hate him or things like that. My dad came to 3 of my football games. I played football my whole life. I was extremely good at it, got a whole bunch of awards to prove it. But my dad came to 3 football games. I remember them vividly. I could not tell you which football game my mom came to because she was at all of them. But I remember the 3 games my dad was at and the way in which I was playing because he was there. I remember him on the sidelines jumping up and down, and like I remember, because that's my dad, so just to see him, come that one time, and it was 3 times he came, it was a beautiful experience. But yeah, my mom, like for Christmas, she'd go buy a gift and then go give it to my dad and then go pick me up and then take me to my dad and have him give it to me, or and I didn't find anything things out until I, was older, of course. But one year he brought me a birthday cake a month before my birthday. I think I turned like 11 or 12, and I hate chocolate cake. It was a chocolate cake. And I was so happy that my dad brought me a cake. I didn't even care on the wrong day. Like I was so happy, like my dad brought me a cake, I was excited. I didn't care he brought it on the wrong day. I didn't care it was chocolate. I still ate it because he bought it, and of course my mom got onto him on the back end about that. But, for me, it was he ain't never bought nothing else for my birthday. So like that, I ain't care you bought it on the wrong day. It was the effort, so it made me happy. And, I just appreciate my mom for making sure that I didn't hate my dad. Cause I, like my brother, my younger brother and my younger sister, they have a dislike for him because of the way their mom, talks about him and stuff. But he's like trying, to do a little bit different. He kind of helps sometime with a few things. He may come by here and there a little bit more than he did with me, because he knows, the relationship that we have. And I always try to tell her, like, don't badmouth him, to them, or don't have them ask him for money every time he calls or something, because he ain't finna give them no money. So why do that to them, and stuff, and then try to make it seem like he's just the worst person in the world because he ain't give them some money or something. Like, stop doing that. And I'm glad I'm in, my little brother's life and in her life, so I can kind of, fix that, make sure that ain't happening. Because I'm just like, what good is it gonna do for me to be angry at him? Nothing is gonna do no good. I just respect him for whoever he is, and I'm glad that he didn't raise me because I would never want to turn out to be like that. So it just kind of is what it is. But yeah, that's the story. My biological father and my mom, she made sure, I didn't hate him, and that's some real respectful stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know, I really don't know no mom that's about to go buy no Christmas gift, go to the daddy house and give it to the daddy, go and pick up the kid, and then take the kid back over there just to make it seem like he did something. Like that's some admirable stuff. Like I might call her like after this and be like, you the truth, like, like that's some real honorable crap. Like, even when the PSP came out, and my mom bought me a PSP, but like, it was such a big moment. Like when that came out, like she went and gave my dad the PSP and he gave it to me, for Christmas. I'm like, oh, my dad bought me a PSP. Like, it's lit, like, but that's what happened, but my dad, I just remember the few things, he did growing up because it was so few, but I remember them all. Like one time somebody broke in our house while we were sleeping. when I was in like 4th grade, but my dad came, and slept with me. He made sure every night one of his homeboys came over. My dad, a little gangster dude. So him and his homeboys came over there, and they stayed outside all night, and smoked or whatever while I slept, because I couldn't sleep, because my mom was there, but I couldn't sleep, because somebody just broke in like while we was in the house sleeping, so, but they stayed outside and smoked outside or whatever. He came and played the game with me for a little bit. I remember like little things like that, but that was important. Just that one little interaction, you came to be there, while I needed you. So just little things like that. I just appreciate my mom for, making sure that relationship, wasn't toxic.
Okay. Now one thing I want to try to give him a little bit of runway here. Do you happen to have a July birthday? Because if he showed up in June, I could see that mistake being made.
Yep. Yeah, it's July. My birthday is July 26th. He brought it on June 26th.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, the back-to-back J months, I'll give him some credit. I could see that mistake being made.
Yeah.
At least he remembered on his own. So I'll give him credit. He was just a month ahead.
See, I try to give him leeway, but see, my grandma tried to tell him too. She was like, I don't think it's this month. She was like, it's next month. And he was like, nah, I know my son's birthday. Like, he was adamant about it too. Like, yeah, but yeah, his birthday just passed, actually. It's September 22nd. And then my little brother's birthday is tomorrow. He turned 16. But yeah, so that was interesting.
So I guess going back to you listed off so many different men that have been, an example in your life. And I think that's so important. Like, I'm just thinking, we are in a home, we are 2 parents, 4 kids, right? Obviously a lot of the boys that you work with, their dads aren't involved in their lives, right? Or maybe they're coming and going, but just the impact of it. Sometimes it's not just the one parent. It's not just 2 parents, right? It really is a community of people that are going to surround Absolutely. All of our children, right? And be a support to them, be a listening ear, be somebody who, hey, you want to learn about cars, you want to learn about plumbing, let me help you and show you, right? So I think that that's really key, especially in today's society where people are rush all the time and maybe don't want to actually show and demonstrate to kids.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's, extremely important, just having that consistency and patience, with them. And village is extremely important. I always say every man needs to be responsible for at least one child that's not his, because we have so many men that don't have children. Like, I didn't even notice statistics for that, how like men really don't have a lot of children. The men that do have multiple children are either married or have multiple, mothers for those children. But a lot of men don't have children. I have many friends who don't have children, but then the ones that do have children got like 5, 6 baby mamas, or they're married, but that's how that works. But I'm just like, men, we should be responsible for some of these children out here. You're not doing nothing. You just got a job, you go pick a kid up, every day and take them to school and, mentor them, take them to get something to eat. Like, imagine if everybody was trying, to be that village in our communities. What if everybody was trying to find a way to make a parent's load easier, or something? So that's the main thing. And even with me doing book club and stuff like that, like, people don't really understand, like, even though I'm trying to help the children learn how to read, that hour and a half may be good for that mom to take a breath after work and, not have to deal with the kids and go get her some ice cream or something while we in book club and just relax, and then she can be in a better mood when he gets out of book club. Like, just little things, that are important, because people be trying to act like, oh, you shouldn't need no break. You're a parent. No, you do need breaks. I got 2 kids. Like, my sons, mama need a break sometime. I gotta get them, and you get tired and mentally draining, like it's tiring sometimes, but that's where village comes in. That's why I'm glad, they're, with my mom sometime and all that. Like, everybody needs to help. Like, we got these parents out here nowadays that's only by themselves. And that's why it's so tough nowadays, because it's only you. I can't be a stay-at-home mom and take care of the kids because I'm by myself. But back in the day, auntie was helping, grandma helping, cousin down the street helping. So you could be an at-home wife, because all the mamas was helping each other. All right, we'll get the kids today and feed them, or we'll make the food for everybody, just like everybody was helping, so, but nowadays it's everybody for themselves, everybody trying to see who can be more independent than who, and that's where we are. So, but yeah, we definitely got to get back to that village for helping our children.
Right now, I don't remember the statistic offhand because you did mention this, but it's either 40% or 60%. I think it's actually the 40%. It's 40% of men have all of the kids. The other 60% don't, or it's vice versa. But either way, it's a high percentage.
40% of kids, 40% of men, 40% of men don't have children. The other percent is I think it's 18% of men have children that are not married. So and then 86% of our Black women are single moms. So 18% of those men are fathering the children to those 86% of women. The rest of those men are married and live in a house with their children. And that was really alarming to me because I'm just like, I thought about it because I was like, that makes sense. Because I'm just like, every man that I know that's not married that have children got like 6, 7 kids and 6 baby mamas, but the men that do have kids are married. And then the ones who don't have kids, I know a lot of men that don't have kids, which was nuts. I was like, dang, I do got a lot of friends that don't got no kids. The ones that do have kids got a whole bunch of baby mamas or they married and stay with their kids. Like, other than that, like the statistics made so much sense, but then 86% of Black women are single moms. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like that is a lot, especially for those kids, to be fathered by 18% of men is a problem. So that's just something that speaks to, the village again, in our communities and what we can do to foster a better environment for those types of things not to be happening. Just having sex haphazardly, having babies, and no father figures, etc., or even mating with men who have full baby mamas already and you don't have no kids and you decide to go have a baby by them too. That makes no sense. Just things like that in the psyche, village is going to help fix that. Because grandma was able to give wisdom back then. Granddad was able to give wisdom. Uncles was able to give wisdom. And we're missing that nowadays because I feel like, the condition of our women is totally the fault of us men in what we are requiring, because women are going to give what men require. And I give an example. Me and my younger brother went to the 4th of July fireworks show here in Albany like 3 years ago. And while we were there, the young ladies, they're basically naked. But they're allowing random guys like to touch on them walking by and stuff like that. But he's like, well, why are they letting them do that? I'm like, that's what they require, but if we saturate the area with men who require more, the women are going to follow. That's just automatic, so if we're not requiring anything, if they are bottom of the totem pole, that's because that's what we're requiring. And we're not requiring anything, as far as standards, as being men right now. But yeah, I think that's kind of just speaking to village again. We got to, raise up a group of men and saturate our areas with, well-made men, for our women to be able to mate with and to be able to, marry, etc., which is why I work so much with our boys, because I want to create, better men for those girls to be able to marry and, better husbands, and community protectors.
And, I do agree with that. And also looking at the ladies and the women, always it's that example, right? Who do you have to show that example to be better, to do better, right? Mm-hmm. It definitely comes on both ways. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So now a question for you. I definitely believe that everybody is able to do something in their community. Each community, obviously, as we know, is going to look different. So You started off and you obviously have turned this into something really big. What do you have suggestions for people who are in their community and would like to start something just by, working with kids, working with youth? Like, what are some easy steps to take?
I always start off by saying do something. And when I say do something, I mean literally just that. I know some people are always trying to begin, doing some gigantic thing or something like that. I'm like, literally do something as small as
Mhm.
give that homeless person that you always tell no $1 one day, or
Mhm.
find a reason to make somebody smile, pick a family to feed once a week, whatever you're capable of doing. Everybody's capable of doing something, good, whether that be with $2, and finding, a homeless person to go buy some food, like literally if everybody decided to get up and do one thing, to make somebody smile every day, or something to alleviate the pain for somebody else, we'd be in a better place. But yeah, I always say do something. And in working with children, I definitely would say before anything, find your patience. Working in 2021, with children is a different ball game. And dealing with their different things they're dealing with at home, molestation, abuse, their attitudes, things they're learning on TV, etc. It requires a different level of patience and consistency. Like I do this every day. This is my life, and it ain't the easiest thing in the world. Like it ain't just all peaches and cream and all the nice photos people see online. Like no, it's going to courthouses, going to YDC, going to schools, going to talk to principals, going to chase kids at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. All that, literally, this is what I do. And it is tough and it is not easy. So I always say, if you're going to want to do something and be consistent, like do it and be consistent. And build the patience and want to work for it. And I always say, find your work ethic before you find your purpose. That's one of my biggest things. Find your work ethic first before you even jump into anything, because you can't jump into something you're not gonna be like give you 100%. If you're flipping burgers, start giving 100% doing that. If you're doing anything, give 100% doing it before you get out there and trying to find your purpose, because you can find a purpose and then not put in the work. You can find your purpose and not want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You can find your purpose and not want to get on the computer and type something up or go look something up or go research or go read a book, etc. You got to have that work ethic before you find your purpose. And that's what we all need before we jump out, and branching out, trying to do anything, is wanting to actually do the work that it requires to make substantial change. So I always say, again, do something and find your work ethic before you find your purpose.
Now, one thing that you mentioned in there too, and it's good that you're shedding light on this topic, because I think it's kind of taboo in our community, but I guess the molestation is one thing that happens in our community a lot that you don't really hear people talk about openly, but
Right.
having conversations with individuals, it is a pretty predominant issue.
Absolutely. That's probably, like, honestly, like one of our number one issues in our families. That's something we will not talk about. Grandma won't talk about it. Aunties won't talk about it. All they tell you is stay away from Uncle so and so. He be whatever. Or granddad probably touched little cousin what's her name, and nobody ever says anything, and she better not say nothing either, or they're gonna ostracize her. Like, that happens a lot. We have a lot of incest that goes on in the Black community. We act like we don't want to talk about it. We love to say, oh, white people do incest. No, we got it all the time in the Black community, more often than not. And even with molestation happening with older women and young boys, that happens probably more. I honestly think that happens more than men with little girls, because it's not talked about. It's easier to do for women, because boys are taught that it's good, or that's becoming a man, because who knows how many boys haven't said nothing because it felt good and all that stuff like that, but they don't understand they were violated. They don't understand that's why they're hypersexual and stuff like that. They don't understand how that's taking a toll on them as an adult. It happened to me, so that stuff is important. We don't talk about it. I've had kids get ostracized from their families because they said something about one of their cousins touching them. Like, this is where we live. This is where we are. And molestation is a very taboo conversation in the Black community. We will not talk about it. And I always challenge people to go have that conversation at the family reunion. Yes, let's do it. Yeah, grandma. So we're gonna act like we didn't know granddad was doing this. We're gonna act like we didn't know uncle was doing whatever, and he ain't finna touch so and so either. Or uncles that be out here bribing their little nieces or whatever, because little niece can't afford to pay the bills, and you got the money, but she got to do such and such to get it. Like, yeah, let's talk about all that. Let's talk about all of it. And I think that's something we need to have a conversation about in our community.
Absolutely. Now, I want to kind of shift gears again and focus on what you're doing with the school and how that's being funded, because I just want people who are listening to this conversation to know how they can help as well. Now, I know you've had some higher profile people reach out and support the work that you're doing as well. Can you talk to us a bit about that and how people can get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had people, former president supports our program, surprisingly, but good. Rihanna supports our program. And Rihanna, she's a big supporter of what I do. She responds every time I, speak to her and stuff. But I think she's kind of like waiting for something like really, I think she's waiting for the school to open actually. But I talk to her often. John Cena follows me on Twitter. I mean, Layla Ali. I just have to think about everybody that has supported what we're trying to do. Niecy Nash, just a lot of big name people have found out about what we're doing and support what we're trying to do. Stevie J, you name it. But a lot of these people, support what we're trying to do, and it's beautiful to be able to see these people, support what we're doing. But for people who want to reach out and help, you can visit the xforboys.org. And that's THE, the letter X, FORBOYS.org. You can also find out how to volunteer there if you want to come help with our free breakfast project that we do. We feed our community on Saturdays. We do free breakfast in the more impoverished side of town. We give out books, to the kids there. We have people come do outreach, as well, during that free breakfast project. But you can also go there to see all of our photos, all the things that I've taught the boys, some of our different videos. You can go there, buy merch, or what have you. And like I said, our school will be opening next fall. We've been exclusively funded by donors. And I love to tout that. People acts like it's impossible. I'm like, it's not impossible because we're doing the work and people don't mind giving when they see where their money's going. And of course, we're eventually wanting to be a charter school. So that way, the state will pay for our curriculum. Because people do have the impression that the charter school has to have like somebody else's curriculum. No, you have your own curriculum, but they fund it. You just have to make sure your curriculum, has certain things, and you can still basically teach what it is that you want. So that way we can keep the school free. The only thing that won't be, free is the boarding, obviously, but we're going to get donors to take care of boarding too for our students. We're good at fundraising, and I'm so good at fundraising, you rarely hear me ask for money. So that's something, that I love to talk about. I'm just like, people see the work and they want to give, and that's beautiful. So we've been exclusively funded by donors, and we're still awaiting our 501c3 determination like just now. So that's something, I love to talk about, but we're exclusively funded by donors, people who want to help, not even just monetarily. I always tell people, like, if you can offer to teach the boys something, that's, a big help to me. If you can offer to come down and teach them a workshop or do a virtual class for them, like, that's my biggest thing. Help me teach them more. Like, what can we do more for them to teach, because money helps, but we need, again, substantial knowledge too, to be able to teach our boys. So.
And yeah, it's so true, right? Because your program is so hands-on, building. I saw on Instagram, you had like two boys who want to be architects, right? So you had somebody come in, you guys did a plan for a small house and, built this small house all together, right? So all seeing, doing, and letting these guys actually see the steps, right? Is so important too, right? From beginning to end.
Absolutely.
So I had seen on Instagram, I think it was, you say Malcolm X has always been the main reason for why you do what you do. Yes. Share a little bit about that.
Brother Minister Malcolm was probably Mr. Do for Self. And he and Martin were like, I think I have the best of both their worlds and what I do, because I love them both dearly. And I think Martin was a genius. I think Malcolm, was a genius. And I think we needed some of what both they were doing. And of course they were going to link, but we know how that works. Both of them, Malcolm talked a lot about doing for self and listening to the things he was talking about in his speeches. as I was listening to Malcolm, it sounded like he was talking. I remember my first time listening to Malcolm's speeches, it sounded like he was talking 2021. I'm like, what? Like I was blown away. I was just like, he talking about going to go buy our communities and go build in our communities. Like, I'm like, why are we doing these things? It doesn't make no sense. Like he had the blueprint or something. Like I just like so, but yeah, I literally would like I have every Malcolm speech downloaded on my phone. And you know, that pushed me to want to start doing for self in my community, like literally starting everything that I want to see, going to change everything that I want to see. Cause you know, I got out of the, you know, get mad at white people for everything. Malcolm literally said, he was like, it ain't that we, you know, don't care about the white man, just we don't have time for the white man. He was like, the white man is on top already. The white man has economic security already. And he was like, but there are white people that want to help solve the problem, you know, and I had to help to come to understand that too, because I used to hate white people, you know, a while back, you know, like years ago. But like as I grew and like my movement grew, like so many white people came to support, even people, Trump supporters, whatever, people supported what I was doing. And I was like, this is weird, but people can't not love the message. Like it's just helping our communities. And I think, you know, I love that our program has been unifying so many people, because like if you pay attention to my following, I have such a diverse following. I got pro-black people, conservatives, people down the middle, super leftists, like people, like when I post stuff, like people literally argue under the comments like mad because they're like, I'm like, you guys are literally commenting on something y'all agree with, like, and why are y'all arguing? Like, I try to make sure I help them understand, like, you're literally agreeing, you're disagreeing on word choice. That's what's usually happening. And that's how they play us in the media and stuff. They cannot deal with everybody unified. This is why Fred Hampton was killed so early. He was unifying all these different Confederate people and whoever. He was unifying everybody. And they was like, oh, no, we can't have all y'all together. Let us get rid of you, you know, because he was doing it. Like they were listening to him. And that's what I've been loving about the movement. Like I've had Trump supporters and Black Lives Matter and all them people like together at one time trying to figure out who we were. Like we went to DC, and while we were there, we were like the talk of DC. Like politicians was trying to figure out who me and the boys was. Like we had literally BLM and Trump supporters was protesting, but when we stopped, you know, like they was like, who are y'all? You know, and I began to talk about what the program is and what we were doing. And everybody was like, yo, that's tight. You know, like that's something we all need to be doing on both sides. I'm like, well, look at y'all agreeing, you know, but like it again, we all want our communities to be better. And I'm like, and all y'all got a problem with the government. I'm like, Black folks got a problem with the government, white folks got a problem with the government. And I'm just like, why don't we all like figure out what all of our little issues is with government and let's go fight them together? That makes more sense. This is why Martin was such a genius and why they killed him too. I'm like, don't you notice like every time when we start trying to do something conjoined, they want to get rid of folks. Like the moment Malcolm stopped just being only Black people, Malcolm had to go. You know, like Fred Hampton had to go. You know, anybody who decided at any moment they were wanted to unify the movements had to go. You know, because that it kills everything when everybody is like unified and they do this whole, you know, keep everything divided on purpose because they can't deal with everybody being together. And honestly, like people, you know, talk about the January 6th thing. I'm in total agreement with the January 6th thing because I told them, I said, well, instead of us going to burn down our communities, that's where we should have been at, to protesting police brutality. We should have been right there with them. They protesting their own thing. We protesting our own thing. We all here. They literally went to where laws are taken care of to protest whatever they thought was wrong. That's what we should have been doing. Instead of going to burn down where we live, why not go there where they make the decisions and go protest there? You know, but I was like, y'all should have been taking notes. What we mad about? That wasn't even our business. You know, it's what I'm like, you know, that's what we should have been at, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just talking. But
no, but it's true though. There wasn't really a lot of attention on the fact that we were destroying our own communities as by way of protest. But okay, I want to circle back to another thing because I'll say how I first heard of you is probably how a lot of people did with the Roland Martin interview. And as a result, again, that I think that helped get your name out there a little bit. And since then, you've been on Valuetainment, you've been on Kelly Clarkson Show, CNN, Fox News. I'm just curious, what was your favorite interview experience out of all of those?
I'll definitely say Valuetainment
Yeah.
with Patrick David. Great guy. Caught me completely off guard when he reached out. Because of all the high profile people, he's interviewed, Kobe Bryant. I mean, I was like, I was like, yeah, I'm coming. And it was supposed to be virtual. I was like, I'm not doing this virtual. Can I please come in person? Yes. And he was like, yeah, sure. I didn't know if you was scared of COVID. I'm like, I'm coming in person for this one. It's got to be in person. Nope, got to meet you in person. But it was beautiful, man. And he was like, nah. He was like, I've been following you for a long time. Honestly, he was like, but I just, you know, he wanted to see, like who I was, etc. But he's like, you're gonna be somebody in the future, and I want to say I interviewed you before you get big. So I was like, that's fine, But I think that was one of my good ones, and I think Fox News with Lawrence Jones was really good too, because people, we have this big, thing against Fox News, but they allowed me to come on there and literally talk and promote it what I was doing, and that was beautiful. And what I really wanted people to look at, I was just like, because Black people were kind of upset with me for going on Fox News. I'm like, why would you not want me to go on Fox News? I'm like, if you say that Fox News only gives, certain things, but they're giving this Black man who's helping Black children a platform to talk about what he's doing for Black children in the Black community, I think you would want me to go talk to that audience about what I'm doing, in the community. And they were supportive. But when I went on CNN, the people who hate CNN were like, wow, CNN's allowing you to come on. Well, that's good. I'm like, why can't y'all think like that? Like, yeah, you need to go on CNN. Like I need to go on Fox. Like you guys need to be thinking about that stuff, not because you dislike them. Even when, Donald Trump invited us, to the White House. Oh, you bringing the kids to the Donald Trump White House? Yeah. Like, why don't we not take them to the White House? What's wrong with y'all? Like, that makes no sense. I'm like, don't none of these folks care about us. So what they got to do with me? No, I'm bringing my kids to the White House. They flew us out, nice hotel, didn't use us for a photo op. That was the most respectful thing I thought happened. Like, we didn't get used for a photo op. We didn't get posted. Like, nobody was trying to use us for nothing. Like, it was just come and have a blast. We got invited to 3 rallies after that, front row. We went to 3 Trump rallies. It was fun. I ain't gonna cap. It was great. I had a blast. We had a blast. People was cool. It was not what people try to make it seem like, on social media and stuff. Because again, seeing stuff on social media, and even with his speeches, like I remember my boys, while we listened to him speak, and the boys thought it was pretty funny and stuff. But then when we got home, and I was like, well, let's go watch the news. And we watched the news, but they said a whole bunch of stuff that he did not say. And we was like, he didn't say that, but that's what TV is for. And I'm just like, but that's what they do. This is why you remain objective and not biased, and go watch all news stations and go see what everybody's talking about, because I'm just like, well, what Mr. Racist man doing inviting some Black kids who can't even vote to the front row at his rally? Because he just liked the work we was doing, and he thought what we was doing was cool, and that was it. He just invited us to come have some fun. And I just thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, we had a blast. A lot of people reached out to us, to help, etc. Nobody's asked for anything in return, or people, nothing like that. It's just been support. And people have brought the boys. They've flown everywhere. We've been to California, Brooklyn, everywhere, Florida. Our boys have been everywhere, places we've never been before. Because people have offered, to help them. I've had surgeons, offer to bring the boys in the operating room for boys who want to be doctors, like literally offer to bring them to factories and tour their factories and stuff. Like they pay for baseball game tickets. Everything. Like, people have really come through because they see the work, and people really want to, dedicate their time and, love to something, that's actually working and helping and has results. And that's one thing I love, about the program. Nobody can really, give me any bad mouth, because all you see me do is work. And that's my biggest thing, just remaining consistent with our boys.
So King, Brian normally asks this question, and I want to ask it tonight. So do you have a favorite failure?
Let's see. That's a great question.
See, he normally asks. I got to give it to him.
Yeah, I will say the trying to buy the first building that we were trying to buy with our local school system. When that failed, I think everything happens for a reason. I believe God makes
Mhm.
everything happen in divine order. But yeah, when that fell through, I had to go do something else. And if I were to have accepted that deal, it would have been kind of productive, to what I was trying to do in the first place. And like I told people, if I was in it for the money, et cetera, that would have been a great deal for me. You guys are going to pay the teachers, et cetera. You get, you're going to teach the curriculum and provide school buses, et cetera. And I can just rake in donations and say I started the school, even though y'all really own it. Kind of like LeBron James' school, the I Promise school is not his school, it's just his face on it. That's essentially what my school would have been. It would have been the local school system school with my face on it. And that's essentially what that would have been. And I'm just like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I want this to be an actual facility where we're actually helping children. And that fell through, and it was a big drama about that. And things happened, but things that are turning out better than what it would have been, because we're able to remain independent and do our own thing, which I think is important. So I'm actually glad that failure happened, because it opened the door for us.
Absolutely. Now, again, I'm curious to know something else, because from what I've seen, just from what I've heard from you in different interviews, you're very well read. What is a book, or even a couple of books that you would recommend people read or that have had an impact on you?
Ego is the Enemy, number one. Why A Students Work for C Students by Robert Kiyosaki. How to Win Friends and Influence People. The Autobiography of John Rockefeller. Few books. That's the ones that kind of just come straight to me. Those are kind of like just the main ones that come straight to me. I forgot that title of Dr. King's book. I know the Autobiography of Malcolm X. Where Do We Go From Here? Martin Luther King. Few books. I could name a lot of books that help. But the only book I probably read multiple times is Ego is the Enemy. I'll read that multiple times over and over again to keep ego in check.
And there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks so much, King. This has been a great conversation, and it's been great following along and see, how you guys continue to move forward with the boys down there. And it just seems to get bigger and bigger, which is such a blessing. And really the goal of this conversation was that other people would see it doesn't need to be on such a big scale. Just start somewhere and,
Right.
make that change in your own community. So
Absolutely. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I always end every interview, every show with the same quote by one of our local hometown hero rappers. His name is Cantrell. He says, "Obstacles are optical illusions. They're not really there. Jump high anyway. Jump high just in case."
Thanks for listening to the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. For more ways to listen, connect with us on social media. To be a guest or to partner with us, check out our link tree at Disrupt the Everyday. Join us next time for more ways to disrupt the everyday.